A WWE superstar who was just released from the company is now retiring from the sport. We're going to talk about that. Plus, we got to talk about TNA and a few big signings. One is a very interesting name that I don't think a lot of us really saw coming, and I'm excited about that. And of course, we got to talk about a former WWE superstar who was backstage at AEW. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Ango Show. All right, guys, first things first, let's talk about it. Former WWE superstar Maven was backstage at AEW Collision. He posted a photo of himself and Shelton Benjamin, on Instagram. Now, for those who don't know, the event of Collision took place at the Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Nobody really knows the reason why he was there. It's kind of unknown. There is this belief that maybe Maven was backstage visiting, which is always a big possibility, right? But then also you have to factor in the fact that Maven is a content creator on YouTube these days, and a really good one, by the way. If you guys haven't watched his content, I'm not always promoting other content creators, but Maven offers a lot of value as somebody who was in the business and now talks about it and makes content on YouTube. So there is this speculation that maybe he was there to do some content, maybe do some interviews or whatever it may be. We know that he's kind of teased going back to WWE, which is why I even want to talk about this initially. I had talked about him teasing some stuff at the Performance Center and nothing was really confirmed. However, what's really interesting is now that he's backstage at AEW, you have to be wondering if there is something that could potentially be in the works there. Now, this is how I look at things. Maven is not an active in-ring wrestler who is going out there every single week, putting down matches or whatever. But Maven is somebody who I think if you listen to his content on YouTube, you really have a good grasp on his understanding of professional wrestling. And I think that's actually been really cool to look at and kind of dissect. And I think there would be a lot of value for him to go in, whether it be WWE or AEW. I think he would offer a lot of value to a lot of the younger talents. You know, Maven isn't somebody who was in the wrestling business and became a massive star, but he was somebody who was experienced and he gained experience and he's seen a whole different era of professional wrestling, and I think he could bring a little bit of expertise and knowledge to the younger people. So whether that's at NXT's Performance Center or in AEW, maybe helping out with some of the talent there in AEW and ROH, I would actually like to see him involved in a major pro wrestling company these days. Again, his content speaks for itself, so it's definitely something I would support, and I'm very curious to see what happens next. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some TNA signings to discuss. Octagon Jr. posting on Instagram that he has signed with TNA. Now, at this time, TNA has not made a formal announcement about this, which I did find to be somewhat shocking because I do feel like TNA would have announced this. I feel like TNA typically does announce these kind of things, but he did post this on Instagram. And he's not the only one that's signed with TNA, which is actually really interesting to me because a former WWE superstar that you guys may have seen on NXT UK, she goes by the name of Mila Grace. She's actually been under contract with TNA since last year. And TNA has revealed that Mila Grace and Harley Hudson have also signed with the company. They made their debut at the most recent tapings this weekend, and this is really dope. Mila Grace actually had some visa-related issues, according to Fightful Select, and both of those signings were due to Gail Kim, who played a very pivotal role in getting them signed to the company. So they've actually been signed to the company. It's never been revealed that they were signed to the company. But at the same time, too, TNA is now starting to introduce them to TNA programming, which then makes me think, okay, with these new signings, what's the crossover probability of them appearing on WWE programming? Which is something I think we have to acknowledge, right? TNA could sign people, TNA could put these people on NXT, NXT people could interact with them on TNA Impact. That's a really big deal. Mila Grace has been doing a lot of good things as well in the European indie scene. The reason why I'm more intrigued to see how she does in TNA is because she did some really cool stuff in Marigold. So the fact that like it's kind of been like this well-kept secret is really interesting. And then I want to go back to Octagon Jr. because Octagon Jr. is a really good in-ring performer. And with TNA, we had been talking about these international signings, and they got the international championship and the X Division championship. You kind of have to wonder what happens here moving forward. And then also, you got to remember, WWE just bought AAA, and there's also some possibilities. We're going to do a Worlds Collide event. Maybe WWE figures out a way to have TNA involved in the event as well. Vikingo works for AAA and TNA. Octagon Jr. is somebody who I think we could even see him appear on WWE. I don't know if WWE is going to necessarily go and sign all of these talents, but somebody like Octagon Jr. now signing with TNA, the good thing about that would be when WWE does Worlds Collide, they could figure out a way to make all of this come together, and that would be cool. And that brings us to our next topic, ladies and gentlemen. Dani Palmer has revealed that it appears she is done wrestling. Man, I talk about people getting released from WWE all the time, and some people are just meant to go in the indie scene and flourish, right? Figure out what it's going to take to maybe get back into WWE or to become a big name outside of the WWE. Dani Palmer has now revealed on a post in social media that she's basically done. She says, "Thank you, WWE, for bringing me to the love of my life, Tank Ledger. The past 3 years have been amazing. It's a bittersweet feeling to be officially closing out my athletic career, but I can truly say I went until the wheels fell off, literally. Our bodies are a gift, and mine has been so kind to me. I look forward to this next chapter." Basically, she's had 2 hip surgeries, and she blew out her knee. She blew her knee out in the past 2 years. So Dani Palmer is somebody who, we saw her on NXT Level Up. Basically, her body is just not able to do this anymore. I'm not disappointed. I'm not mad about it anymore when you really think about the things. I'm always disappointed when you see somebody get released and then they decide, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. Dani Palmer wasn't somebody who came into WWE with 20 years of wrestling experience. She came in as a collegiate athlete who learned how to do this, and her body just simply isn't cut out for it. And that's kind of how it is, right? Pro wrestling takes a huge toll on your body, and I understand that. I think a lot of wrestling fans should hopefully try to understand that as well. Deep down inside, it sucks because you would like to see, okay, well, hey, like, you're pretty talented. Maybe you could sign with TNA. Maybe you could go to NWA. Maybe you could figure something out. That doesn't always happen, so it's a little unfortunate. But, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to keep you updated. Make sure you click that subscribe button. This way you don't miss a video. I'm going to keep you guys updated along the way every single day. Thank you for watching.